So, Metal Gear Survive. I watched mostly Review Tech USA, Rich from Review Tech USA's videos on this, and everything he says is pretty much correct. I have been a long time Metal Gear player. It is my favorite franchise of video gaming as a whole. Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm not one of the Metal Gear fans that is going to say it was wonderful. I'm not one of the Metal Gear fans that is going to say it was awful because it had its own moments. But now Konami is talking about this Metal Gear Survive, which instantly, instantly gamers of Metal Gear looked at that and were like, what the fuck is this? And I am the same way. Why? The question on the vast majority of Metal Gear gamers' minds is why? Why the fuck are you doing that? And then we think into it and we immediately go, well, we know why. It's a cash grab. If they were serious about what they were talking about, we want to win you back. When everyone's been talking about how Konami says they want to win back gamers. If they were serious about that, they wouldn't release some spin-off bullshit just straight off of their main game when they fucked up so badly in the past. They would get serious. They put some real support and some real money behind a real Metal Gear game. Not, I mean, shit. Even Peace Walker was a real Metal Gear game. Even Portable Ops was a real Metal Gear game. I mean, even fucking Metal Gear Acid was more Metal Gear than Metal Gear Survive is. It's clear that what they've done is taken the Metal Gear name and just slapped on this they've slapped on this, or they've taken this zombie survival idea that they want, which, like people have said before, I've watched another video of another gentleman. He was like, this is one of the most tried and true, the most done to death ideas in gaming in recent years, and he's fucking right. Like, a zombie survival game, seriously? You're not fucking Capcom. At least it makes sense when Capcom does it. Those motherfuckers have a history with zombie survival in various forms. I mean, and then to even, like, just as an aside, to even hint at something that could be considered horror and having shut down PT and not bring back another Silent, you know what? That's what you motherfuckers need to do. Go focus on a Silent Hill. That's what you need to do. Nobody wants to see a survival horror game when you canceled PT. Anyway, they didn't. Getting back to the point, they never said it was a survival horror game, but it's this tried and true, all been done to death 4-player co-op idea that the Dead Island Island games, showed could have a lot of success. In games like Left 4 Dead, obviously. Um, why you would think to put a Metal Gear name on it? It was clear. Everyone's been saying it, and it's the truth. They really think we're fucking stupid. It's clearly a chance for some suits to go in at Konami to say, well, this is what we see in our figures. We don't understand a goddamn thing about gaming culture or the gaming industry or community, but fuck that. These animals will just buy anything. They're fucking cattle. So what we need to do is get the boys over at the analytics department to put together a bunch of fucking analysis of what algorithms we can use, or what features or ingredients we can use to create an algorithm that's supposed to be perfect, right? It's laziness 101, and it shows how much these motherfuckers don't understand what the fuck they're doing. Why the hell are they in the leads of this company, of any gaming company? Once again, gaming people who are at the top of these gaming companies who make these decisions are showing that they have no fucking idea what they're doing. I don't understand how these motherfuckers made it there or why they're still there. But they took this tried and true bullshit and they smack the Metal Gear name onto it in an effort. They're not serious about this. They're not serious about producing a badass game. What they want to do is clearly people, they want people to just buy it because it's got the name Metal Gear on it. They think that we're, you know what I'm saying, Metal Gear fans will be as brainless and zombie like as fucking Call of Duty fans when it comes to some shit. And Call of Duty fans are fucking sick of it. Yeah, I mean, see the wondrous response when people hear that Metal Gear, I mean, Modern Warfare 4, or I'm sorry, that Modern Warfare, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare is getting the remake, and then they smack it on to you have to buy Infinity War, and people are like, fuck you. We don't want Warfare. We want the original. You know what I'm saying? They really think we're stupider than we are. I don't understand this. And I don't understand why companies won't just give people, if a shit ton of people keep telling you that they want one thing, and you're a company that has the ability to create that one thing that people are telling you to do, to make, what is the fucking mental reason that makes enough sense for you to say, no, we're not going to do that for you? People want a Silent Hill like PT. So even without Kojima, couldn't you dumb motherfuckers bring somebody on that you feel is confident enough and capable to make a PT-esque game? Yeah, gamers are always going to be pissed that Konami kicked Kojima off of the project and canceled it. They're always going to be pissed. But that would be the job of the team in development at the time to turn that around. Guys, we're not going to lie and say that, you know, you guys were expecting us. We know you weren't expecting us. But what we're going to do is we're going to show you that we are capable. We may not come out with the product that you were expecting, but we will make a great product, and we ask that you just give us a chance. That's all the team would have to say, and then get their asses in the office and start working on a great game. And gamers would give you a chance, because gamers care about badass gaming experiences. But they show how little they understand, and it's frustrating as fuck. That said, I was like writing a script about what they could do to change this reaction, right? And not what Rich from Review Tech, he has a follow-up video on it, which I would recommend you guys go watch that, because he does a really good job on his videos. That he explains that they had kind of a damage control. They got a spokesman to come out, and he just like he kind of repeat from what Rich was saying. I get the impression that he was just repeating bullshit. He was just saying the same shit that Konami's always said on this game since the minute it was released, or at least information about it was released. They've been like, oh, it's going to be 4-player co-op. It's going to have stealth elements. You can't really tell from the trailer. They're going to be fighting massive biological this and that. And it's just like, no one's excited for this project. Everybody is confused, pissed off, or concerned. So, like I was saying, I was going to write a script on how they could make the game better, or where they could go from here. But reality is, they probably already made most of this shit heap that they're about to try and force out on us. You know what I'm saying? Because it has it. I think I may be wrong on this, but I thought it had like a 2017 release date. Now, what the fuck is a game like that? If first of all, the spokesman said it wasn't going to be released for $60, that doesn't make us feel fucking confident. Neither was Umbrella Corporation or Chronic or whatever the Umbrella Corps. You know what I'm saying? But everybody thought that was going to be shit, and then whoop-de-doo, it turned out to be shit. It doesn't make it okay that you release it for less money if it's a shitty game. Okay, and seeing as they already are talking about a 2017 release date, correct me if I'm wrong, but that means that these motherfuckers have completed at least some part of this game, right? And they're ready to start shoveling it down our throat next year. Fuck you. Anyway, like I said, for like I'm gonna try this the third time I've tried to say this. I was writing a script on what they could add to the game to turn this around, right? To make sure that this doesn't come out and it's just utter shit and people hate it and people hate Konami even more. Because if they do this and it comes out and it's just shit, it's going to show all of us what we were saying was correct. That it's just a cash grab. They don't give a shit about these games that we love. They don't give a shit about AAA titles. And that's another thing the spokesman was talking about, how we do care about AAA titles. If this game comes out and it's just shovelware, it's going to absolutely confirm it for the vast majority of us who kind of, you know, turned around and were like, all right, we kind of forgive you a little bit, but we're not going to trust you. You know what I'm saying? Like, this will just push us over the edge. And I was trying to write for the fourth time, Christ, I can't stop digressing. But I was trying to write a script on what they could put in the game to make it a solid experience, you know? And I just decided, I don't want to, first of all, it's going to take forever. And I want to kind of get on the hype train while it's here about talking about this subject so that it's relevant. Um, so I guess some things from what I've seen, I could comment on it. And I'm going to try because one of the things that I do on my channel, the biggest thing I do is the talk throughs that I have. And what these are is they are fan fiction products that, or not products, projects that what I'm trying to do is I'm not trying to tell people what to do with their IP. What I'm trying to do is give them ideas on what they could do and where they could go, with the project. That's my whole point, you know what I'm saying? And so I feel like I could do that with this as well, or I would like to at least. So we already have the whole premise of the game, which is when you first see them go back to Mother Base in the trailer, and you're like, okay, it's a Metal Gear. What is this going to be? You're really stuck at the point where you're like, okay, where are they going to go with this? Because they're showing us parts of the end of Ground Zeroes and pretty much the beginning of Phantom Pain, or the prologue of Phantom Pain. You see Kaz and Boss fly off, and they're staring down at the awful destruction of Mother Base. And it cuts to this guy, this random Mother Base soldier, who's staring up at the chopper as it lifts off without him. And all of that is emotionally powerful. Like, seeing that scene is really awesome. And then he turns around, and there are these big ass wormholes opening in the sky, and shit's lifting up and being taken into the sky into these wormholes. And I'm like, what the fuck? It turns out this is apparently some kind of alternate dimension story. Now, for the longest time, I was thinking that is so fucking dumb. You know what I'm saying? That's not a good idea, not for Metal Gear. But I thought to myself as I kind of wrote a little bit of the script that I was going to go with before, this could make sense because remember, wormholes were kind of utilized in multiplayer, and they were even less of a degree utilized in the single player in Phantom Pain. And to me, with wormhole technology, it doesn't fucking make any sense that it would be there and you barely go with it as an idea, but you can see just the tiniest glimpse of it in Metal Gear, in the Phantom Pain, where the skulls, the first time you meet them, they kind of pull these guns out of the air, and you see it looks like it could be the metallic archaea that kind of builds the gun as they seem to reach into one side of their hand and then pull the gun out of thin air. Doesn't make any fucking sense at all. And I was thinking the whole time that Hideo shouldn't have gone with that. He should have gone with they just pull the guns off of their hips. But you kind of see that. You see a little bit of that. And then you see in the multiplayer, they actually have literal wormholes. Don't know why they went with that at all. That seems like a total departure from Metal Gear. I don't know why they did that. And obviously, the biggest technology that everything is leading up to is not teleportation technology or wormhole technology. It's the I think it's called SOP in Metal Gear Solid 4. It's been a while since I've thought about Metal Gear Solid 4, so I might be wrong on that. But it's basically the ability to control soldiers, which is something that in Metal Gear Solid 4 control them directly, which is something that in Metal Gear Solid 4, um, what's his name, Liquid Ocelot utilizes um, firsthand. So you see the power of the SOP system firsthand, but you never see any fucking wormhole tech, as far as I can remember. And if you do, it should have been utilized a hell of a lot more. So obviously, when they open these wormholes, it's like, where the fuck is this technology coming from? I'm hoping it's technology. It better fucking be technology. It better not be any kind of fantasy bullshit. You know that Metal Gear Solid has always been on the fringe uh of spirituality, but it's never gone all the way to magic before, as far as I can tell. It's always been mostly sci-fi, a bit of fringe spirituality, like for instance in Metal Gear Solid 2, where Fortune managed to block a bunch of missiles when her magnetic force field unit was damaged. Um, that was some, fringe spirituality shit. But it didn't go as far as to say that, magic exists. So I'm hoping that this is actual technology. And what I wrote in my script is that Skullface was working on another form of technology, which was this wormhole shit. So what he wanted to do is that he wanted to attack Mother Base, but he also wanted to destroy it entirely, right? To guarantee that the boss was dead. So what he did was he had his scientists work on this experimental technology, this wormhole technology. And for the longest time, they were only able to do smaller things, and they weren't really sure if they wanted to use it on a large one, a larger area. But Skullface being impatient and saying that I just tortured the shit out of Paz and Chico. I have the information. It's time to fucking move on this. They didn't get any say in the matter, so he said, "You turn that shit up to 11 and use it." And they use it, and it works. It takes Mother Base into another dimension. Um, that said, uh, I would make the story wrap around to that device, in that the player is trying to, once they get sucked into this other dimension, they're attempting to get back home, right? A real home. And it's about basically finding on the other end where you are and where you've been put, and how to get back home. And that technology is on the other side as well, right? They've been utilizing it in their experiments, and they managed to put an area. They found this desolate area, and they managed to take technology over there to build an area to send to send the guys back, right? To send the people who are over there back. They come back, and between this kind of like shadow dimension, this partial world that they have a connection to it that goes from wherever they're testing this wormhole technology to that shadow dimension where they have built another facility. So they're able to pass things back and forth between these two areas, and they're doing more research there. So I mean, that shit sounds really exciting for scientists to go through something like that. But of course, like everything in Metal Gear, if it's science, it's used for weaponry. And so Skullface has them use it on Mother Base. Mother Base gets sent to the Shadow Dimension. And so this gives the player a goal, a target. We must find that facility that is in that Shadow Dimension that they've been sent to, and take it, and take the technology for ourselves and utilize it to get back home, right? Um, that's the general premise of the storyline for is what I was thinking they should go with. Um, Getting back to the trailer, when you get sucked up, you kind of just fall into nowhere, right? You're covered by pieces, or you're surrounded by pieces of Mother Base all over the place. It's utterly destroyed. It's in pieces, and the place where you are, there's no water, right? So I'm guessing that the water wasn't sucked up for whatever reason. I don't know. But your player wakes up and he sees this fucking stumbling zombie walking around, right? Or this stumbling person. And as it gets closer, you see it's some guy that has the top of his head has been is missing, and it's got this red horn sticking up through it. So this engages in a fight between the player and the zombie, where the player tries to pull out his gun and use it, but is overwhelmed. Um, I'm guessing that means that guns are going to be useful in the game, which I think could really open up a lot of different opportunities, right? Metal Gear is a game where you're going to be using a shit ton of guns usually, but in Metal Gear Survive, it's about melee combat. It's about getting close and overcoming your enemy with timed precision presses of the trigger, or with certain movements like diving at them if their legs are exposed or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I would like that to be, if they make it interesting, if they make it intricate, it could be really fun. You know, with the spear, you ready to spear by holding the aim button, and then you stab to certain places with an enemy, or you hit an enemy in certain places and they react differently, or certain enemies will have certain weaknesses. Um, for instance, with with all the regular zombies that just have the red crystal in their head, if you hit the red crystal, they kind of go berserk and they'll attack zombies around them and stuff like that. You know, it could be something really interesting, but from what they've shown and their attitude that we know of, it doesn't seem like they're going to do anything interesting. And they show us this later in the trailer. They show us more of the weaponry, and I just don't know. To start out with, when it comes to weaponry, the player picks up a pipe and starts hitting this fucking zombie with it and still having trouble with it. Just fighting this one fucking monster. And eventually he gets help because someone like arrows, they shoot an arrow into it and kill it. Which they don't end up breaking the red horn on the top, and you don't actually see like something like if it dies, the horn stops glowing or something like that, which would make a lot of sense, right? Um, I could see the regular enemy type just being the zombies with the horn, and when you kill them, or if you break the horn, eventually they die, but they go into a berserk mode. Or when you kill them, the horn just stops glowing to signify, they're dead. And the horns could be a kind of like a satellite dish, an antenna. It's an antenna that the big bad guy, whoever that turns out to be, is using that to broadcast information to these mindless husks, these puppet soldiers. So the player gets saved and joins up with this group of people in the trailer that head back to the ruined parts of Mother Base that are still there. And from what I have gathered, it could happen, from what I've put together in the script, you could have a commander there, right? So this commander guy is, at first, what he's focusing on is just keeping people alive. And then as you go through the campaign of the game, that's another thing. This game definitely needs a campaign. It better not be just like a bunch of survival bullshit where you survive in an area with multiplayer. You know what I'm saying? Don't do something lazy like that. Do not be lazy about this, because you're already on thin ice, Konami. But you should actually craft a campaign for this game. Craft areas, where environments where the gamers will go through these areas, and sometimes will be forced to go. In fact, all the time should be forced to consider stealth and utilize stealth, because you need to have enemies up the ass. And I'm not talking about waves. I'm talking about there need to be like 10 to 20 to 15 to 30 enemies in an area, right? If the Fox engine can handle it. And I'm pretty sure it's a powerful engine, so it should be able to handle something like that. There need to be that many enemies in an area to deter players from just going buck wild and saying, fuck it, we're going to fight these assholes. You know what I'm saying? It should be about stealth. It should be about going unseen. And it should be a campaign about this. But getting back to the campaign and the premise, so your commander wants to stay, right? He wants to get people there together to help them survive, because he knows that there are people out there. And the player is a confirmation of this, because the player is found on the fringes of the of the destroyed mother base. So they know there's people out there. They know that their family is out there somewhere, and they need to go and get them back, their mother base comrades and family. So this guy tells you to find people, and you, for the first few missions of the game, maybe the first mission period, you travel outward into the wasteland, and you avoid roving bands of the monsters, and you go through tight, you know, corridors and valleys, and make the environment really interesting. Don't make it has to be a wasteland, but don't make this shadow world just like as boring as it is to run around in Metal Gear Solid 5. Because in Metal Gear Solid 5, you're going to spend like 5 minutes running from place to place. It's fucking annoying. Um, and that's the difference between an open world that's really well done and fun, and an open world that's just open. It's just a barren wasteland. Don't make it that, right? This doesn't have to be an open world game, and it shouldn't be for a $40 price tag. Don't fuck up, okay? Or not. Well, they didn't say $40. He said it's going to be less than 60. We'll fucking see, but it's probably going to go with 40 because they usually go 20 down. But you're making your way through the campaign in the first mission, and you find nothing. You're not finding survivors, right? It's kind of you're talking as the players move along through the environment and go through the tutorial of learning to maneuver through this strange alien environment, you know, crawling under things and jumping and vaulting over things and climbing up and doing various and diving. You know what I'm saying? You should utilize diving as a way for the player to close small gaps and stuff like that. So and also utilizing the jump maneuver, right? Or at least diving should be used to when you have to jump down a long corridor or something like that. It diving is used to kind of placate some of the damage that you would normally get. So you're using jumping, you're getting around the environment, and the players, the player characters are speaking on the circumstances they're in. It's clear that everyone's frustrated. It's clear that everyone wants to get home, and it's not clear on how to do that. No one's clear on exactly how to do it. They know that the commander wants to stay, right? He thinks that he kind of gives you this thought that that is their new home, and that he's so connected to Mother Base that he refuses to let anyone leave. I mean, it's kind of when you go back to Mother Base, it's kind of locked down. It's you're not allowed to do a lot of stuff. You have to go on patrol. Well, not the player character, but you see people going on patrols, and there's just a lot of tension at this time, and obviously because Mother Base was just fucking decimated. So as you're out there, you get a feel for people, for the tension and the base through character dialogue. And when you're traveling trying to find people, you go out a certain distance and you notice that the sun starts to set. So the team decides to turn around and go back in the other direction. Well, say you get ambushed by zombies or whatever, right? And you get pushed into a certain direction where the players are able to find some evidence that there's a facility out there that holds the key to getting home. This is what I was talking about before, that the Skullface's team of scientists. So they find out about this facility, and they return home with that information, and the commander becomes hostile, right? He's not just saying that you can't go, he's saying that if you go and come back with this, we'll kill you. You know what I'm saying? This is treachery. He basically the commander becomes a partial antagonist, where Mother Base is a place that you should use in the game, Konami. You should use it as a hub world that the players return to upgrade weaponry, to if something breaks. And that's another thing. In this game, there should be an economy in Mother Base, right? Your weaponry, since it's just a bunch of lead pipes and shit, can break over time. You should have to pay to get it fixed. Now, obviously, it's not going to be money, but it would be like trinkets that you find out in the world. And you could do something where there are competitions where certain players kill a certain amount of zombies, they get a special trinket or over their teammates. Like you can do little fun competitive things like that in between everything else. Like say you're on one mission and you got to get to a place in a speedy amount of time, and you can have a race. You know what I'm saying, between players. That'd be something fun just to do as you're going through the mission itself. But getting back on topic, he's like, you can't fucking leave. No, this is idealistic bullshit. There is no way to get back to the world we once lived in. We live here. This is our home. Going back to wherever you're talking about is not our home, right? And so obviously the player doesn't agree. The player characters are like, you're out of your fucking mind. Like, we're not staying in this fucking desert. So you go on. That's basically what I would say the premise of the game should be, right? The script should be written around the players attempting to get home, get to this facility, secure the tech, and utilize it to get home, and also the fact that there are a lot of you can't trust really the people at Mother Base. That tension that you feel should always be throughout the game, right? So you go there and there are people there that you'll speak to and you'll overhear where they're like, I don't want to fucking be here. This place is awful. This is not the Mother Base that I came to. This is not our home. We're in a fucking barren wasteland. We barely have any food. I don't want to stay here. All right. I want to go. And there are other people who are, they're making they're trying to basically make this into their new home. So there's a element of mistrust when it comes to Mother Base. And that should definitely factor into the narrative. That you have groups of people who you need to save that are there and they want to leave. And these are your family members, right? Extended family, sure, but everyone at Mother Base felt like family. But there are people there that you need to get out. You can't just use the technology and fucking leave them there. You know what I'm saying? So that should be the premise of this game's story. And as it is right now, it doesn't look like the game has a fucking premise other than you're Mother Base survivors and you fight a bunch of zombies in closed off areas. You know what I'm saying? Because you see them in the trailer, going back to the trailer, in the game, in the part of it where you're seeing the different weaponry and you're seeing them using a bow, you see a guy use a spear. They're stabbing these zombies through a gate. Now, what that makes me think is that they're going to try and go with closed off areas where you just, you're in a square and you have to survive waves of enemies, which would be lazy as fuck. That is not something that a game project, unless you're like making games for newgrounds.coms or something like that, a very small game, that is not something you should attempt to make a whole game's concept out of. You know what I'm saying? That's a part of the game. That would be a part of the game's multiplayer. That would be a part of the game's campaign where occasionally you have to defend Mother Base from a roving horde or something. You know what I'm saying? That's not something that you should make the entirety of the game about because it's depthless. Essentially, it's fucking depthless. There's only so much you can do with that. But when it's a campaign, you can take the player to new environments. You can have them introduced to new enemy types realistically and organically. You can have them find new shit realistically and organically to apply to their weapons and make new weapons and make new badass spears that don't break as easily. And you can attach fucking um I don't know, flame parts to it or whatever and upgrade your fucking weaponry. Like, you can do really badass stuff when the players actually go somewhere and find new things. Say you find a naturally occurring fuel source that actually kind of burst up out of the ground, but the zombies are attracted to it. So if you go in and kill the zombies and take that fuel source, Mother Base will send a scout group out who will keep connections with Mother Base and that certain fuel source area. These people will go in between Mother Base and the fuel source, and from then on, you now have access to attaching flame parts to your weapon, so you can light these motherfuckers on fire. You could do badass shit like that, and I hope that's what they're thinking, but I doubt it. A lot of players are doubtful, and I'm one of them. You know what I'm saying? I'm one of the people. I'm cynical about this. Konami has not had a good track record in the recent year or two, and no one's looking at this like they're gonna turn this around. But anyway, there's a lot that they could do. There's a lot of potential. Shit, I digress a lot. In case you don't know, so especially since I'm doing this off the top. But So we got the premise out of the way, right? That's the whole idea. You're trying to get home. The commander doesn't want you to leave, right? That's enough to start an interesting story with some interesting elements in it. Um, the campaign should take you all throughout the barren wasteland, and it shouldn't be just you see where Mother Base is, where it's just a bunch of fucking ground. The rest of the wasteland really needs to be enjoyable environment wise, right? It shouldn't be anything like colorful or beautiful, but it should always be interesting, which means that some parts are drier. And imagine like these dry, cracked crags that have this diamond material all over them that you see on the monsters, on the zombies. And there are zombies in certain areas that are completely covered in this, so they're extremely armored enemies. That's open. There you go. There's innovation in your enemy design right there. There are certain enemies like that that are basically tanks that instead of like the other zombies where they try to grab you and I don't know, impale you on their fucking head dick or something. These enemies instead rush into you, smack you around, throw you, grab you and throw you. They jump around and use their bodies as weights. You know what I'm saying? There could be another enemy for instance, since I'm on since I'm talking about environment and enemies right now, there could be another enemy that has a longer horn, say a longer, bigger, stronger horn. Weird. Anyway, there could be an enemy like that where I call it in the script actually a whistler, right? And what this enemy is when it spots the player, it will basically give a call. It will summon other groups of zombies and it will continue this extremely loud, high pitched call that it should be something where it's not loud and high pitched to the player because we don't want to annoy the player, but it is something that it's an audible thing that the player can hear so they understand that a whistler has noticed someone and is summoning other zombies. And perhaps later on in the campaign, the whistler summons more unique zombie types like the armored enemies, for instance. So the whistler would play a role as it stays away from the player. It has attacks that knock the player over so that it could then run away and continue the whistle, which will continuously summon enemies. So it's important to, for one, stay out of the line of sight of this creature, which in the script I wrote that it has a circular line of sight, but it's a short line of sight. So it can see you behind it as well. It'll notice you behind it if something is not, if you're not behind something and you're behind it directly, it can still notice you. But it has a very short line of sight, a shorter line of sight than the other enemies. So it would have to get close to you, and if it gets close to you, then you have to deal with this new game mechanic, which is that it runs away from you and summons enemies and stuff like that. And when you break the whistler's horn, for instance, any enemies in the area will immediately go into frenzy. You know what I'm saying? And they will stay in frenzy until they are killed or they kill themselves. That would be really exciting. That would be interesting game mechanics. And yet we didn't see anything like that in the trailer. We didn't see different enemy types except for the hint that there's some kind of large, monster looming as it's, at the end of the trailer where you see this, you hear this loud, like shrieking, almost like a metallic, like a Metal Gear sound. And you see the dust flowing away from the camera as the camera pans up and the players are looking up at this thing kind of, I guess, insinuating that there's a Metal Gear there. You know what I'm saying? But I would say pan that back, right? I would say you should only the spokesman also said that you're going to be fighting enormous biological something or other. And I would say pull that back, right? You don't need to make enemies enormous to make them a threat to four players. Like I said, you can have large groups of enemies, you can have types of enemies that are armored excessively so they can take on four players at a time and be a threat. You could be innovative with your enemy design, you know what I'm saying, and not have it be cheap and stupid. Shit, at some point, even bring the skulls into it, augmented skulls that are, the players get to the facility in the campaign, and there are skull unit members there, you know what I'm saying, with guns and with with the skull's abilities, you know what I'm saying, a true threat to these four characters that do not have a fair fight ahead of them. They have to utilize ingenuity and teamwork to overcome these enemies. You could do something like that. You could pull this off, Konami. This could be a good game. You just need to get a team together who's passionate and understanding and flexible and capable, and then give them enough work or enough money to pull that off, to pull that vision off. But since we're still on getting back to environments, Jesus Christ, I digress. But getting back to the environments and enemies, you would have enemies like the skulls that are really fast and that can utilize mist. You would have enemies like the basic zombies that come in hordes. You would have enemies like the armored zombies that come in. They usually come in one or two, but they run around the field and can knock the players over and can grab the player. And if the player gets grabbed, they require assistance from a friend, or they'll be killed, um, or at least downed so that they have to be revived. Um, you can make enemies where shit. I mean, since this is another dimension, you can make more exciting, interesting enemies that perhaps when you get to the facility, it's overrun with these, this new type of enemy that where it modifies the the zombies, the normal zombies, and it turns them into these motherfuckers that are crawling all over the walls and jumping around, and they actually shoot uh shards of this that diamond rock shit they have on their bodies. They shoot it at you, and they're, of course, they're armored too, so dealing with them is harder. You could do something fun with this. You could make this badass. Yeah, that's pretty much all I had when it comes to ideas. I mean, we don't know a lot about this game, and people are not very excited. And that's because we don't have much of a reason to be excited. There's a lot that could be done, but the ideas that I'm talking about, if they're talking about releasing this game in 2017, that's not fucking likely. Unless they've already been developing it that way, which I highly fucking doubt, it's not likely. It's this is looking like more shovelware. Should have been released as free to play bullshit where you're gonna have to grind for fucking hours to be able to utilize a different arrow type for your bow, or to be able to afford enough trinkets to purchase a heal for your, or to purchase a repair for your stupid fucking knife spear or something like that. There could be so much innovation here, and I don't think that they're going to actually do anything innovative. I don't think anyone does. I think everyone's looking at this like this is going to be more shit. This is going to be more bullshit that no one's excited for. But Konami, if you're listening, which I highly fucking doubt, 'cause I'm not very popular, um, please take this. Please take some of these ideas into account. Please pay attention. Please try to make a good game. It shouldn't have been. It should have been announced. Period. Nobody wanted this. Nobody wanted a game that was Metal Gear esque only in name and in Fox Engine. Nobody wanted that. Nobody was asking you for this. So understand that. Don't come out saying you guys are just assholes. Don't do what fucking Paul Feig or Feig did and try to piss off your fan base because they're, speaking bad about your product. Be understanding and say, "Look guys, we understand that you're worried. We understand your concerns and we hear you. Now we're going to actually put in work to prove to you that we're not trying to deceive you, that we don't think that you're just wallets. We know that you are important. We understand that. And from now on, we will make sure that you know that we know that." This is your chance, Konami. This is your chance. And you already started off on a weird foot. So, I mean, it doesn't mean that you're going to fuck it up completely, but we're not very hopeful. So, thanks.